So, Harry, are you aware of the 3 series rule?
I have a vague recollection of it. However, I think it'd be better for everyone listening if you described in detail what it was.
Okay, so again, I can't say I'm an expert. I'm sure I might get some details wrong here, but the gist of how I remember it is that ever since Patrick Troughton took on the role of the Doctor, he decided to stop playing the character after 3 seasons, and he held out he basically stated in interviews that he chose to do that because he felt like he didn't want to get typecast, and he advised future incarnations of the Doctor, Peter Davidson, and I believe it was Sylvester McCoy as well, or Colin Baker. But he basically advised his successors that just do 3 and then leave, because that's a decent run for an actor to do. And ever since then, it sort of became an unspoken rule among the actors who get cast in the lead role to just do 3 seasons. And it's become quite apparent with incarnations like, David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Capaldi, and of course now Jodie. And you can, of course, make the argument that they did specials before they regenerated, so that maybe kind of breaks the mold. But talking about in terms of just full seasons of Doctor Who, every modern incarnation of the Doctor outside of Christopher Eccleston has done a total of 3 seasons. And of course, to this day so far, the longest serving incarnation to have multiple seasons, 7 in total, is Tom Baker. So that's the gist of what it is, what the 3 series rule is. So my question to you, mate, what do you think about this rule? And do you think it should be broken?
So after you told me about it the other day, I had a look up at what it was, and I've got a sort of a list of the series, and the rule is basically on William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker. So it's about half, I think, or just over half, actually do have 3 seasons. So John Pertwee did 5, Tom Baker did 7, Colin Baker did 2, apparently, according to this article that I'm reading. Eccleston did 1, Paul McGann did 1 episode. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a rule. It's probably more likely just the natural progression of how an actor wants to do it. So, it probably seems natural. When you look at interviews about why an actor's left playing the Doctor, they say that it's just sort of run the course of playing it, and they think that anymore they'll either get too attached to it, or they'll think that they'll run dry. So I think the 5 series isn't necessarily a thing that can be stuck by. It's just probably more of what an actor wants to do with a particular character. And personally, I think that if, for instance, with Matt Smith and David Tennant, I would have loved it if they'd have stayed on and did 7 series. I've loved it if they would have done it for 10 years. Same with Eccleston. Eccleston did 1 series. It would have been great if he did multiple, but his reasoning was conflict with the producers and stuff. So that was a whole separate thing. But if there's a Doctor who's really good and you really love the character, then by all means do as many as you want. I think I'm really not fussed. I don't think it should be kept in as a thing that they should definitely do. I just think it should be do however many you want to, and if that particular Doctor can stay on and do more than 3 series, if it makes sense for the character, and if there's new material that's going to happen, then by all means do it, I think.
Reasonable. Yeah, because I agree. Because when you put it like that, it makes sense in that regard. Because, for me personally, I would love for them to break it. Because, I understand the structure. Because, it's sort of the similar way to how movies are done. When you do a series of movies, you do a trilogy. That's the most common thing to do. And, that's the best way to tell a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end of a narrative in a big arching storyline. And in terms of that approach, you give a Doctor 3 seasons, that's plenty of time to tell an interesting narrative for that incarnation. But I do admit, currently right now, I do favour the approach to the next incarnation, if they're good, that they break that mold, routine, and just like
Yeah.
go on doing more seasons. Because I think you pretty much already summed it up. But yeah, it has to depend on how the storyline's being done and how that incarnation is developing and growing, and if there's more stories to tell with that incarnation.
But also the passion of the actor. Like if the actor really loves the character and wants to go on, they should do it. But if it seems like they're just honing in a role, they should obviously just stop while like they're ahead. Basically, like that's the thing. You don't want an actor to sort of resent being a character. You want them to have a positive experience with the whole thing. So because that will make for a better performance and
Exactly.
better viewing.
I mean, if dipping into my little personal past personal hope, I always had the lingering hope when Peter Capaldi was the Doctor that he would stay on for 5 seasons and he would leave in series 13. So series 13 would be the debut of the 13th Doctor. Yeah, and that's what I hoped for a while. But at the end of the day, he chose to leave. I think because I think as you said it there, he didn't want to grow to resent the role, and I don't think it was to do with his age, but he was definitely like, I don't want to do this for a long period of time where I'm going to be like exhausted after running down every corridor. So yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that with Capaldi that he was actually forced to leave, but like I can't
Oh, really?
find the basis of that. But I have heard it in some videos that he was like forced to leave so that they can go in a new direction. Like he didn't want to leave where they did, but I can't find any basis for that. I've just heard that, so like take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, maybe that is just another little chip into the idea that they were heavily pushing for a change. But yeah, as you said, probably not a lot of basis at least if you can't find it. But yeah, if anyone does know, by all means, let us know in the comments. But yeah, gotta say, I wasn't expecting much from this bit of the conversation. I guess just for me, I would love to see a Doctor do more than 3 seasons because I think again, if it's a good storyline, if it's a good era, if it's a good incarnation, I'm all for seeing more of that version. And who knows, maybe there is some point down the line where we will see someone take over the longest standing Doctor mantle from Tom Baker.
That would be a very impressive feat. Going off of some of the things you've said about Peter Capaldi, like I think Peter Capaldi would have been the perfect candidate for staying on because he like very well known that he's a massive fan of Doctor Who, and I think he probably loved being the Doctor, and I loved his incarnation, and he could have definitely you could definitely see his character like staying on, maybe even going past season 13 and doing the whole like the same amount of time as Tom Baker, because they could have easily made his character like more dark or more silly. They could have just taken each series in a different direction. But and on the other point you said about 3 series being a beginning, a middle, and end, that is actually a very sensible way of going about it. If what I'd really love is for the showrunner or writers to like have a very clear plan of where they want to go with the Doctor. So like have an actual beginning, middle, and end to a really like a entire Doctor's run storyline. So like say that they need to learn something, or not learn something, but they develop as a character through so the first series they're in, they're such a different character to the last series. It would be such an interesting way of going about it, but I don't think they have done that necessarily with any of the Doctors so far. They've just sort of had series plans rather than a whole era plan.
Yeah, I think the closest is Stephen Moffat is famous for like planning a lot of stuff ahead, and I think I can say that Russell did plan certain things ahead, or at least like he had ideas for where they could go. But I mean, who knows? Because off the top of my head, I'm sure every showrunner has had their end goal in mind for where they want to take their era. I guess it just depends, of course, at the end of the day on the ratings and the company themselves. Because as sad as it is, they are the dictators in where if the show is renewed or not. But I think at the end of the day, there's definitely room for a Doctor to grow beyond a 3 series storyline. 3-season storyline. I mean, sort of like how you've seen Spider-Man: Homecoming, haven't you?
Yes.
Considering that again, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen No Way Home yet. No Way Home. I think I said Homecoming earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, not Homecoming. I've seen Homecoming. No,
but yeah, that film ends. It's a definitive end to the Home trilogy, but it ends with the promise that there's further adventures ahead for Spider-Man. So, I think it was confirmed recently that they're doing a 4th film, so they're guaranteed to probably do another trilogy. So it's not out of the realm to do the 3-series rule approach with the Doctor, but then just begin another story arc that branches off into another 3-season story arc. It's all about just how you approach the narrative. At the end of the day, it's very basic storytelling approach. Again, at the end of the day, it's if it's done good. Because again, I could think of quite a few ways how they could have expanded the Timeless Child storyline if it had been done differently and done better, honestly. And we talked about this before, but it could have gone on for a slew of further seasons and storylines, but yeah, it didn't. But yeah, I guess capping off this conversation, I think I've already said it already. I'd love to see them do more than 3 seasons. I'd love to see a new Doctor break the rule as it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess like we've said, if the actor wants to do it and if there's stories there, then by all means, have a massive long run. But if they don't want to do it, then have it as 3.
Simple and easy.